Welcome to Barcelona in September. It seems like a mighty fine place to be. We're swapping out that sightseeing for beaches. It's business. But there's business because this is late night racing development here. As you can see, this is the track here. 2.8 miles, 4.5 kilometers, 16 corners, 7 to the left and 9 to the right. There is a 612 meter from the start line to the first braking point. So watch out, as that could very well be hectic. Daniel Ricciardo holds the lap record set in 2018. There'll be 3 tyre compounds for this evening. Pirelli bring the hardest in the range. That is the C1 hard type, the C2 for the medium, and the C3 for the soft. The medium should be good, a good race tyre around here, only about 7/10 per lap slower, and has the same durability of the hard tyre, which is about 1.7 seconds a lap slower. Yeah,
that's all right.
I think I'll ask you in a second after these guys line up on the grid.
Yeah. Got a lot of questions about who's going to be leading into turn 1 as well, and those questions will very shortly be answered as the tail enders now make their way. Stizzy at the very back of the grid, who somehow has managed to be put behind Buddy, who got disqualified from the qualifying session, so I'm not really sure how that works, but nevertheless, here we are then, everyone on the grid. And we should be getting underway any moment now. The lights coming on. They're going to go out. We're going to hold, wait for them to go out for the drivers. And now we are underway. Looks like a good start for Cracky, but an even better one for Ascendancy. Actually, in P3, 2 cars already in the wall. That's a racing point of Toasty and Macca's McLaren in the wall. But meanwhile, Ascendancy with a great launch off the line, challenging up into turn 1, bumping wheels with Cracky, who holds on around the outside of turn 1. There's another car off back there. That's the second Alpha Tauri of top tier Nubu's fallen down the order. Newf running wide through turn 3, opens the door for Santiago to make the move into turn 4. Vessin's alongside the Ferrari as well, but not able to snake his way up the inside. Newf holds on to P4 for the time being. And in the top 3, it's Cracky now leading the way with Ascendancy, making that position up. Newf falling all the way down to P4. More battling further down the order as Buddy has had an electric start from 19th on the grid all the way up to P11. And he really wants to put on a show here today, because we know he could have been right up the front of the grid if he hadn't been disqualified from qualifying. Do P7 for the time being, as it looks like Hollers has actually gone off in turn 11, probably over the bump that we saw Miko falling victim to in qualifying. And Hollers had some support in the chat, and unfortunately it's not been a very good start to the race for the McLaren driver, who's struggling to hold on to those overheated tyres as the rest of the guys go through to start lap 3, and DRS is now enabled. Prey.
Look at this little battle that's forming here behind Stizzy there. Stizzy Train is forming up Neves, Ignite, and Hollers is a little further back on that one. So,
ooh, here comes Neves up the inside, right onto the apex of the corner, getting it all wrong, though, with that attempted overtake. I hope Stizzy was able to avoid picking up any damage as the Alfa Romeo just came flying across the front wing of that Haas. But Stizzy reclaims the position, and Ignite follows through as well. Neves tried to gain one position, but instead lost one.
It's obviously track position is key, so it seems to be very, very hard as Neves actually picks up a time penalty, which I'm sure these drivers will start getting a little bit further. And it looks like Neves is going to try to make it. No, try to up the inside. He's going to lose out another position, I believe.
Yeah, that's yes. Santiago who takes advantage this time around. That was almost a carbon copy of what Neves tried to do a couple of laps ago. Neves needs to work on the overtaking maneuvers into turn 10, I would say, because both of those have looked very, very scruffy indeed. The Alfa Romeo driver evidently has the pace, but the racecraft is slightly lacking so far in the opening few laps. And Santiago looks absolutely rapid on that fresh set of medium tires. Azu Killam had a problem up ahead as well. Yes, he has. The American driver in the Alfa Romeo, who I tipped as the one to watch for this race, has fallen significantly down the order, lost about 6 or 7 seconds at the very least with a spin through turn 2. Meanwhile, Santiago further behind was able to get past Ignite and is already looking up the inside of Ignite's teammate Stizzy as well. Santiago blasting past them as if they're 50 level AI here. Santiago doing a great job on those fresh medium tires, because they haven't stopped this race, and after a cracking opening lap, they've fallen right down the order and right onto the back of Stizzy. Once again, the race leader has come into the pits as Santiago and Zippy are battling as well. Zippy holding on for now.
And it looks like Buddha tried to make a little bit of a break up on the inside of Stizzy, and that's cost him. So whether he got some damage, and as soon as I get the camera angle correctly there from Codemasters, I can see if there's damage. No, there's not, so he's lucky. He gets to survive another day.
started. Santiago now 4 seconds away from Ascendancy and Cracky, so actually falling further back, having to navigate his way through the traffic. And while he made it look easy, he still lost a significant amount of time.
Cracky spun.
No, that's the de facto race leader who spun, managed to recover pretty well in the Red Bull, only losing the one position, but that opens the door to Ascendancy, and Ascendancy on those hard tires. This is a dream come true for the German.
He's going to just try to put pressure this Mercedes as much as he can. He knows while he has these fresh tires, this is the time to pounce. I'm quite surprised, actually. It's Chewy and Simply Air are swapping positions up front, but we'll keep ahead of this battle. And that looks like it's all too easy with the DRS down the main straight and the fresh tyres. And Newf has to get on with it because Cracky's further up the road there. But what happened there between Chewy's up in a P3 right now. And also the ERS management that they have to do too as well.
Yeah, I mean, that move there from Miko on Zippy. Zippy absolutely just waved the Renault driver through, realized that that was not their fight to take in the racing point. Meanwhile, back up ahead, Newf, well, this time going for the outside line into turn 1. Around Santiago, does make the move, and this time doesn't compromise himself through turn 2 either, and that will mean the position will go over to Newf now, who then runs wide in celebration, picks up a 3-second time penalty immediately afterwards. That's in the Williams, jumping all over every single curb in that last chicane, and that will give Ukilum a golden opportunity to make the move up in towards turn 1. Ukilum lost this position earlier due to a spin in turn 2. Now will reclaim it away from Chewy, who drops down into P4, and Ascendancy licking his lips looking at this battle as well. Cracky's actually there for Ascendancy. Chewy all over the back of Ukilum, and Cracky has to be careful here. Doesn't want to get involved in a battle that could end in tears between these two. Not really racing them, of course, because they are yet to pit in this race. Cracky goes around the outside of Ukilum, who was compromised by having to battle with Chewy. Chewy up into P3 once again, but runs deep into turn 4. That'll open the door, and here comes the Red Bull slamming through that door and into turn 5 ahead of Chewy, into P3 and back onto the bottom step of the podium for the time being.
Sorry, the hards. 3 laps on the hards. They are slower than those mediums, but definitely not as slow as 11-lap mediums.
Yeah, and the fact that Ascendancy is getting caught up here behind Ukilum and Chewy and not getting past them as quick as they would like means that Newf has a good opportunity to close up to the back of the AlphaTauri, who he is directly battling with in this race. And Newf losing that time behind Santiago now that he's passed.
Crank it up there as our current race leader boxes, and that should slot them back in probably behind Simply Air.
Yeah, Cracky picking up a 3-second time penalty there. I would agree with you that Miko had an opportunity to catch up to the rear of those, but Miko, as you were mentioning, that actually crashed and has lost a significant portion of his front wing. He's now been in the gravel because he's just got so much understeer with that car and will be heading straight into the pits. So that's unfortunate for the Croatian, and just about avoiding the pit entry. You said that could be a tricky one, and it almost caught out the Renault driver there. Give Chewy and Neves all into the pits as well this race, and Chewy just behind them as well in the second of the 2 Williams. Just thinking about penalties, the front 3 all have 1 3-second time penalty apiece. There's a lot of people coming into the pits towards the bottom of the order as well. That's Ignite Hollow's Miko back into the pits yet again in the Renault. This is going disastrously wrong for the Croat.
Yeah, this little battle here between Ukilum and Chewy. That's the Alfa Romeo and the Williams. So Chewy's both had the same tyres. They both got those fresh hards on. So
to go to the end of this race, it's possible that those medium tyres will last. I think unlikely, but definitely possible. Ascendancy, pretty likely that he's going to be going to the end on those hards, but it's going to be a mega stint and going to be really struggling towards the end of this race. Simply Air now and Vessins are going side by side. It's hard to battle wheel to wheel when you've got analog input, but Simply Air making nice work of it regardless. Up into P6 for the Red Bull.
It's digital, actually, because it's on or off. Analog would see it would be the steering wheel.
Yeah, you're right.
But anyway, that was like a little bit of train that's forming up there too. So you can see there, that's literally
Yeah, that's Chewy also getting involved behind them. This could be 3 wide into turn 1. Vessins is just about going to be ahead. And unfortunately, the excitement of that move is curtailed by the fact that a safety car has come out. I think that's for top tier noob DNFing. And I just saw Chewy actually going into the back of Vessins there, maybe picking up some front wing damage behind the safety car, or with this sort of delta that they're having to drive to at the moment. Yeah, and Miko actually going back into the pits once again. It's been several trips to the pits now for the Renault driver who was a while ago battling up towards the top end of the points, but now stone dead last. 4 stops in this race. Doesn't actually have a fresh set of tyres left to strap on, so it's going to be 1 lap old hards. And yeah, that's not how you take turn 1, Miko, so watch out for that one. Keeps it out of the wall, though. That'll be okay. So Miko will recover to the back of the Snake, although actually probably get on with it. The safety car's still just exiting Sector 1, so I think he's going to be fine. But it's probably going to be in this lap.
It's going to be a lot of pressure from Gimp running in P4 to get those hard tyres up to temperature, especially when you have that Ferrari drive those fresh tyres behind you. But then he has to be looking in his mirrors as well. Simply has been fast, but Simply there does have the slower tyres with Chewy behind him. And Ignite will have to look in his mirrors because that Williams driver should be ready to pounce. And it looks like the safety car is going to be in, and we're back to green light racing.
Back to green light racing indeed. Santiago actually had a really good restart. Cracky weaving a lot down the straight, trying to break the toe of the cars behind. Ascendancy was close, but not quite close enough into turn 1. Newf wasn't able to make the move on Gimp either, but Gimp actually runs wide through turn 2. That might give the Ferrari driver an opportunity. Through turn 3 they go now, and maybe up towards turn 4 with the inside line. Here comes Newf. Needs to dispatch Gimp as quickly as possible to keep in touch with the front runners. With those medium tyres, Newf making it work up into P4 he goes. Ascendancy actually running a little bit wide through turn 5, but gets a really rocketing exit down towards turn 7. So that's going to be held on to for Cracky for the time being. Ascendancy definitely looks like the faster driver, as you would expect, given the difference in tyres between these two drivers. Santiago holding on well as well. And Newf will need to close down this gap by the time they get to the main straight, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem through the final sector, where the difference in tyres is probably going to make the most difference of anywhere around the track. Hollers, Ignite, Neves, and Vessins also battling. That's going to be Vessins also taking advantage of fresher, softer tyres to get past one Alfa Romeo, and now the second Alfa Romeo is the next one on the menu for the Irishman in the Williams. Back up to the very front. It looks like Cracky's actually been able to gap Ascendancy pretty well in the final sector, so no opportunities for an overtake this time around. Isn't a little bit frustrated with that one because, yeah, that into the back of Buddy as well. This is all getting a bit messy between the Ferrari and the Renault, and that's Miko's third front wing. As you can see the amount of understeer it's causing him. It's actually going to be a 5th pit stop for the Renault, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I think the team is starting to get sick of him visiting the pits all the time there. Maybe you need to grab one of those beers that you guys had mentioned there before. We need to give Miko one of those beers and send him back out on the track so he can enjoy the rest of the race.
But Cracky once again with a better run through the final couple of corners. That might just be enough to ensure P1. Once again, weaving a lot on the straights. This is pretty excessive from Cracky, but it's not doing enough as here comes Ascendancy, reeling him in like a fish on the line, and already into turn 1. Ascendancy is well ahead, parks it on the apex, and there's nothing that Cracky can do to fight back unless around the outside of turn 3. This will be a brave one. Will Cracky run out of road? No, he will not. And into the side of him and into the wall goes Ascendancy. Carbon fiber goes flying. And I don't think Cracky did anything wrong there. That's Ascendancy falling well down the order. And that is a disaster for the German.
Yeah, this is the cage fighting that I expect to see from these drivers as these tyre strategies are going to start coming into more and more play as Santiago kicks up a little bit of dust into the helmet of Newf.
That is a late defense on the inside, but does enough to force Newf to go around the outside of turn 4. Incredibly difficult with the understeer you pick up through that corner naturally to go around the outside there. And Newf finds that out to his cost. Santiago made a major mistake through turn 2 and then made another one through turn 3 as well. And that gave Newf the sniff, the opportunity, smelling blood in the water in that Ferrari, knowing that there's weakness now in the cockpit of that Mercedes up ahead. He just needs to wait for another mistake and then he should be able to pounce. This is going to be a golden opportunity for the Ferrari behind as they head now down towards turn 1. Down the main straight we go, and look how easy it is for the Ferrari just to reel in that Mercedes, get past before the braking zone. Newf needs to get it stopped into turn 2, just about does so. There might be an opportunity for Santiago to fight back, but it's not going to be the case. And Newf up into P2 can look now to challenge Cracky for P1.
Running in P12 there. That's the racing point. Oh, and I think we just commentated, cursed him. I'm sorry, Toasty. Toasty's toasted it into the wall. And that is...
The wheel just pops off at the end of it all there. He skidded along the wall with no damage, and then at the very end, the wheel just decided, whatever, I'm done. Just popped off the car. Unfortunate one there for the Racing Point. That will be the end of the race, and it brings out a virtual safety car here. So there is an opportunity for Newf now to get a better restart on the virtual safety car and close down Cracky. Alternatively, there's an opportunity for Cracky to try and get the jump on the Ferrari behind and to be able to build that gap up further. Only opens it towards the end of the straight, so he probably could have opened that one a little bit sooner. But I think the time has been and gone for him. I think he's just going to run out.
Simply Air sends it. Sorry to cut you off there. Simply Air's trying to send it down the inside there with Gimp, I believe, and then he's lost his whole front wing, or half a wing, if I'm not mistaken, and that means his last-minute attempt there to gain further up there, but we'll have to go back to the battle at the front there because Cracky is swerving as he wins the race there. It's confirmed there, but Santiago does a great job. I think he called that almost, didn't you? Santiago moving up into P2. Certainly did. So what an absolutely thrilling race. Simply as it's the driver of the day, but even though we had dropped back on those penalties, but I guess maybe Codemasters decided because you are driving on a keyboard, you get that. Selfie is taken. The trophy is there, and that's right. Point out to your team, point out to your fans, and shake that champagne. Get it all over Adrian Newey as well, the British driver, conquering this race in Spain. And what a drive. As you want to go through the standings there again, as you can see.
Yeah, and, getting driver of the day to Simply Air makes sense. He made up a lot of positions. And, yeah, as you said, being on that keyboard setup, I can only imagine how cramped his hands are at the end of this race. That's got to be... whichever finger you're using to press the accelerator, that's going to be under a lot of strain come the end of this race. Ukilum, the only driver in the field, I think, who finished the race not to pick up any penalties. So shout out to him for that one as well. And claiming P4 after a couple of issues and not being very fortunate with the way the safety car shook out is a very good result for the American Cracky. Of course, taking P1, Santiago P2, Newf P3. He'll be disappointed with that, I feel, because he really will feel like he could have won this race today. And then Ukilum, Vessins with a pretty okay race to finish P5. Gimp, Simply Air, Neves, Hollers, and Ignite round out the top 10 of the point score.